Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have a rocking show for you. Lots of fun topics to get into, one of which is a bit of a one that, you read social media and you see someone like Gabriel put out a bunch of IPs that, well, they have not been around in quite a bit. So I kind of want to have a little fun with it because they're all IPs that deserve sequels. They're all IPs that deserve to be in current gen, and they're not. And more importantly, because of the amount of studios that Xbox have, would love to see a lot of these first-party studios return in a big way. We'll get into that in a second. And of course, obviously, by the thumbnail, well, Helldivers is having a little trouble. And that's because, well, not surprising, the PC community has kind of picked up and walked away. But worse than that, it seems as if the PlayStation community, the ones that were the loudest when this game came out and it was, charting on every list you could possibly imagine for being on Steam and concurrent players, well, they didn't really support it like the PC crowd. And the PC crowd, well, like Crispy Bomb was saying in the green room, was a bit fickle at times. Crispy Bomb, happy to have you here, brother. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a fun week and got to see the little ones and all that good stuff. But let's get into some gaming. Let's do it.
Yeah, I got a chance to hang out with Tyler. Picked him up on Friday right after breakfast at Boom. Spent the whole weekend with him and Mrs. Boom. We had a great time. Went out shopping. Went out hunting for some of his collectibles that he wanted, and it was great. But yeah, great to have you here, Gamsley. Now, obviously, thank you for being here. Originally, you weren't. Apparently, according to you, your plans went into flames. But happy Canada Day to all of our Canadian friends watching live, and of course, to you, kind sir. How you feeling?
I'm fantastic. I had this whole lineup today because, Canada Day, it's basically everything's closed. People are on vacation for a weekend. So all my friends are available all of a sudden, and we had this huge plan, but all of them canceled because their babies got them sick. So
oh, well, that will do
darn
it.
those kids. But no,
Booties, the worst.
everything moved to the PM. I'm having a blast playing some games, and I'm glad I could hop on here and talk some Helldivers. And surprise, it sucks. You're welcome. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this.
Man. He has chosen violence, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I have actually quite enjoyed it, but I would much rather play it on Xbox. But we'll get to your hot take in a second. Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, dude? How you feeling?
Feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys, man. Yeah, it's funny how the PlayStation community beats their chest when PC is convenient for them, but any other time it's like, oh no, don't buy our games. No, we don't want you to be part of the ecosystem. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into that. But man,
yeah, we actually, that's going to be a pretty beefy topic because one of the IPs that was shunned for its PC success. And of course, it didn't count because it was an Xbox exclusive, was, of course, Palworld. Now, Palworld in recent days, since the summer update, has seen an uptick of nearly 900%. And of course, there are a certain subset of people in the community that says, wait a second, I call foul you Xbots. That doesn't count. That's the PC crowd. And you're like, okay, I mean, that's fair. There is a large number of PC players. But to be fair, a lot of people on Xbox were playing. Now, granted, my stance on it. I tried it. I should have went back to it and gave it more time because I could have shut everything off. But I was like, it's just not for me, which is fine. Yeah. But you look at what's going on with Helldivers, and it's like, wait a second, that doesn't count because that's on PC, and it was PC. Listen, pick a side, all right? If you're going to sit in the chair, sit in the chair. If you're going to stand, freaking stand, okay? Make up your freaking mind, okay? But before we get to that story, this one is a fun one, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're curious, this is Bolt Gun. It's available, or was available on Xbox Game Pass. I bought it. It's phenomenal. If you like old school, Doom-esque type of games, this is Warhammer in the Warhammer 40K series. It's called Bolt Gun. You'll see it's violent, it's gory, it's great. Definitely consider playing this. And I think there's even like a deluxe edition with a DLC that's available on the store right now. So definitely check that out. But so on Friday, we started to see people sharing emails from Xbox regarding the delisting of Forza Horizon 4. Now, Fuzzy, of course, you are our racing main, so I'm going to you first on this. Now, so it got a lot of smoke for the delisting, but they explained why they were delisting it, right? They were delisting it because, well, it was the licensing thing with the cars, the licensing thing with the music. These things happen. How long we've been playing Forza Horizon 5? But you see, that's not where the story ends, Fuzzy, because not only did they put it on sale if you wanted to go out and buy it, and you buy it, it's yours, right? It's being delisted from Xbox Game Pass. But that's not where the story ends, ladies and gentlemen. The story ends and begins with people in the community sharing some emails where Xbox was giving away the game for free if you bought the DLC. And I seen not a few, I seen hundreds of posts of anyone that bought the DLC, meaning, like the seasons packs and any of the stuff like that. You get an email from Xbox saying, oh, by the way, thank you for supporting the game. Here is the game for free. So if you didn't own it and you played it through Game Pass, but you bought the DLC for, like, let's say early access, or just because you wanted to be a part of the DLC, you got the game for free. And I think that is a story worth talking about in 2024, Fuzzy, simply because there is abso-freaking-lutely no way Nintendo would give you the 8-bit version of Mario Brothers. No, they would charge you $20 for that if you wanted to play it on your new system. The same thing could be said easily about what's going on with PlayStation. PlayStation are the kings and queens of nickel and diming. This is a great move, and a move I think you only find with Microsoft and Xbox. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't receive it for free, but the reason why is because I bought the full version at launch. So for me, it's still an awesome deal, even though, yes, I know I paid full price at launch and stuff like that. But for those that like to do the upgrades to get the early access or the access to the DLC and things like that, if a game winds up being delisted, the DLC is no use to you. And Microsoft went above and beyond by just basically saying, you know what, here's a token for the base game. So at least, even though we're taking it off the store, you can still play the game. Because if they didn't do it that way, the DLC would just be sitting on your hard drive saying, oh, you have to purchase the game. And then you go to purchase the game and then it's like not available or can't be found. So it would probably piss off a lot of people. So I appreciate that Microsoft took the time and effort to go ahead and do this, because it's above and beyond the right thing to do as far as being able to allow players to continue playing that game that a lot of them, if they're anything like me, put tons of hours into it. But we've seen Microsoft do similar things like this in the past, although I can't remember which titles they've done exactly like this. But I know there was a circumstance where they did like upgrades. I think it was for like Gears 4. I'm pretty sure Crispy can probably get into it, where it was like if you were an Xbox Ultimate customer, you almost got the DLC kind of for free or something to that effect. But yeah, Microsoft is definitely pro-consumer in a lot of ways. Sure, I'm pretty sure people will point out, a thing here or there that might not be, in line with that. But overall, when it comes to games, why have it where the person that spent the $30 or whatever for the DLC now basically has of no use, or that $20 basically goes to waste, when the game now at this point is probably on sale for under $10? And they're like, well, the person had it for 2 or 3 years, or actually at this point it's probably close to 5 or 6 years from when Forza Horizon 4 came out. Why not we just give them the token? It's a gesture of good faith, and more than likely that's how you retain customers in your ecosystem, by doing things like that. Like, a consumer will now know that, well, even though some games do have to leave because of licensing reasons, they will still have access to that overall title, even if they just did the upgrade. Because the way Microsoft probably looks at it, if you've been subscribed this entire time, especially, they're getting their money's worth. So it balances out in the end. But this is still a great gesture of something that they didn't have to do, but they went above and beyond and did, and I greatly appreciate it.
Again, is it the story of the century? Let's just say, is it the story of 2024? It's not, but it is like Fuzzy was saying, a nice gesture of appreciation. And again, the reason why, Gamsley, it's such a big deal is because we know that Sony and Nintendo would never do this. As a matter of fact, Sony, the rumor is they're looking to bring back a way to play PS3 games on your PS5. Now, I am very excited for that because MotorStorm is one of my favorite racers of all time. And we're gonna and it's possible. It's gonna be a select number. I would love to play Resistance 1 again. Now, Resistance 1 is one of my favorite titles at launch. Another phenomenal game. The issue here is that there's no way they're going to do it for free. They're going to charge us $10. And of course, like a fucking bonehead, I am going to wind up buying both those games because I like those. I don't even like them. I love them. Gamsley, this is kind of a cool thing. You know, you bought the DLC. Like Fuzzy just said, you would logistically have no use of it if you don't have the game. And Microsoft is saying, yeah, it's being delisted. You know what? Thanks for supporting this at launch. Here's the game for free. And again, this isn't just select people. This is, I mean, hundreds of people. I've seen posts, videos, you name it. Let's get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know, I think PlayStation, you know, and Nintendo, the way they dive deep into the back catalog is services, right? So when we're thinking PlayStation 3 games and stuff like that by Sony, we're probably going to get that in a PlayStation Plus / like cloud gaming thing, which Xbox has done also. But yeah, it's a different thing with them. But Xbox has been shouting from the rooftops that they want to preserve whatever they can. They want to make sure that, you know, everything you have crosses generations and is accessible to you. And they're laying the groundwork daily for that, to reassure customers that, you know, your games aren't going to go away. When stuff like this happens, that you're compensated and, you know, you get to keep your game. Shout out to them, you know. You're right. The other two don't do it to this extent. They seem to cut corners a little bit. I'm super happy that people get to keep playing this game. It behooves them to, like, it really does. They want you in their ecosystem, period. That's why they're doing this. And that game has a hardcore fan base that keeps going back, and it would just not make any sense to completely lock it down and not have it accessible anymore and not have you play it. People are playing it, so they want to make good on that and keep it in your library. But yeah, it just on the flip side, it kind of sucks that, you know, we live in a world where daily hundreds and thousands of games just get deleted and burnt
away
in the ether, right? It just sucks. And yeah, if you want this game, you know, go get it in your library as quick as possible, because yeah, we never know when these games are going to evaporate. But good on them for trying to make good on this in some sort of way. That's all I gotta say. But
no, it's a great point. I think you're onto something. And again, it is a slight, hey, thanks for supporting the game. But I think it does speak massive volumes, at least in my opinion. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it happening. Look, Forza Horizon 4, not my favorite in the series. It was good. I very much enjoyed my time with it. 5, for me, is probably the best in the series. I'm hoping that 6 gets to Japan, and then we can move that title and that crown over.
You know, on that note, sorry to cut you.
Right.
The thing about these games, right? For the people who are like, whatever, it's Horizon, whatever 4, you know, it's like, yeah, but they're in different environments, and that's what makes these special. Like, you could drive around in a completely different state and environment, so that's why the earlier sequels of these games should be accessible because you want to drive in these places, right?
Yeah.
If a big selling point is like, look how beautiful this game is, look at this place you're able to drive in and all this stuff, it's like, oh, that's a grab. That's like, oh, I want to experience that. I could go back. That is a reason to go back and drive through, I don't know, Mexico or something, right? Or drive through Japan again. So these games should always be accessible, you know? They should just always be there. So yeah, it's kind of scary that they're just wiping it out, but again, good on them for giving this away, but I really heavily suggest if you love these games, go get it as quick as possible so you could have it there.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
and
I,
sorry.
yes, sir. Please, no,
Paris in the chat. Paris in the chat. Look at my face. Bring it, baby.
That man is gonna yoke the H out of you. Paris Lily, what's going on, brother? How's everything? Listen, actually, that's one of the topics we are going to get into because phenomenal job, you, Greg, and the team over at Kind of Funny with Carrie, Patel, and the lead designer for the gameplay. Phenomenal interview. I watched it twice already. I'm glad that you came. You guys, we didn't get a release date, and I shout out to Greg Miller for trying to drive that point home. But listen, it leaked. It's probably going to be in November. But great stuff all around, Paris. Glad to hear that you're excited about it. Because listen, folks, I'm sorry to say, Paris is starting to become the red herring, if you will. When he says he likes something, I'm sorry to say it's time to get on the hype train because he's
don't give him any credit. Don't give him any
credit. I'm sorry. Monster. I know you don't want to give him credit, but I'm going to give him credit.
Monster. I love you, Paris.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, Crispy Bomb, let's get your hot take on this because again, we are in an era of games where every company and corporation, no surprise, wants to make money. We know Sony does it a bit different. We know Nintendo does what Nintendo does. Xbox always seems to be on the good foot of giving things away, giving extra, giving back to its community. That's what they do. And again, here we are, Forza Horizon 4 being delisted. And that means that the game is going away. You're not going to be able to play it if you don't own it. And once it's delisted, well, you're not going to be able to get it, again, at least digitally. Now, would you be able to find it somewhere at the physical disc? I don't know if it's being delisted. Would you be allowed to play it if you own the physical disc? I'm not sure. But people getting this game now for free who bought the DLC seems super cool to me. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I mean, it's just another pro-consumer move from them. They do things that nobody else is willing to do. I mean, if anything, it would be pro-consumer if PlayStation said, oh, you can buy this for $10 or because it's being delisted, you can't play it. But instead, they just give it to you. And by the way, Fuzzy, it was Gears 5. You're talking about Hive Busters because Gears 4 only had the season pass. It didn't have any DLC involved. Other than that, like there are games that they have charged, DLC for and have not. And this is one of them where they've charged for some of the DLC, the Hot Wheels and some of these other things. Mm-hmm. So, you look at it and you say, can we help people keep playing the game, keep the hype up for something that it's probably license involved more than anything? They probably said they don't want it released in Game Pass anymore. These licensees of the car makers, whatever it may be, even music probably, and they say, okay, but what if they actually have the game, like they purchased it? So then they're like, yeah, no, that's fine. So then Microsoft's like, hey, here you go. You bought DLC. You are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber or whatever it may be. You bought some of the DLC. Here's the game. So you have it and you can continue playing. Is that somehow a bad thing? I would say no. I mean, some people will probably spin some kind of wheel and say, oh, well, it's this and this. Oh, they're delisting it. Okay, well, they wouldn't delist it unless there was a reason for it. Number one. Number two, for them to go what I would see for a company as big as Microsoft, or you want to say Xbox, go above and beyond and give anybody that purchased that said DLC, even if it's probably one. I've heard people say, "Hey, I bought the first DLC, I didn't buy the second one, and I just got it off Game Pass," to get that full game, which at the time was what, $60. So
Yep.
I don't really. There's nothing to hate about this. If anything, other companies need to look at this and say, sometimes doing the right thing will give you good press, and you don't have a defense force around it, because I'm not defending anything. They did it. And maybe this is a good thing. And maybe having engagement in the game still, regardless of all said, things that happen within having, named cars and named music involved nowadays, and still just doing this is actually a good thing for your community. If Fuzzy wants to go play 5, and then his buddy says, "I want to go play 4," and you have it, like, he bought it, so you're not going to get that. You already bought it. But if that said person's in Game Pass and now he has that code, I mean, it's community engagement. It's one of those things saying, "Hey, we didn't forget about you." And I think that means a lot to those people that are invested in Horizon 4. And I think that's what's important.
It's a great point. It's a great point. And I want to welcome in nearly 535 people here. Let's see. What's the ratio? How many people are watching on YouTube? 401 people watching on YouTube. 133 people watching currently on Twitter, which is pretty cool. You know what? Before I move on to one of the bigger topics, because obviously the Avowed one I'm going to say for the back end, and I see there's a lot of conversation, let's just say, from no names here, because we don't want to point any fingers. You're allowed to have your opinion, that are suggesting that we, and really me, because obviously I'm the one that wrote up the title, that we're using misinformation as a driving point for Helldivers. I'm sorry, what the H are you folks talking about? No, it has not been announced for Xbox. We are well aware of that, but the game is failing. It lost 90% of its players. How do you think they're going to get that back if it's currently only available on PC and PS5? I don't know. Oh, shit. Maybe they're going to release it on Xbox. I don't know. I don't think you got to be a rocket scientist to kind of figure that out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like a D about it, but come on. Like, misinformation. Is this your first time to the channel? There is a question mark at the end of both questions asking, is this possible? The answer is, you're goddamn right it's possible. How, if the PlayStation community and the PC gamers are walking away from this 90+%, and I didn't pull this out of my rear. This was reported by Forbes. Paul Tassi's the one that wrote it. Are you kidding me? Like, honestly, come on, man, grow up, ladies and gentlemen, please. Just grow up. And you know what? Maybe if this show isn't for you, then why are you hate watching? I don't get it. Like, I don't listen to anything I don't like. Don't hate watch. Don't be just knuckleheads. And I'm, again, no names, because we don't want to embarrass anybody, because we don't do that here. But come on, man, use your senses.
Hate
What's
watch
that,
all you
Gabsy?
want, baby. Hate watch all you want. Give us money.
It's just, I don't know.
Baby.
I just think it's ridiculous. But listen, let me catch up on a couple of super chats that we got here, and then we will talk about this story that I think there is a story here. X-Men, Sir X-Men drops not one but $2 super chats. And the first one, he says, Xbox for the players now, not Sony. It's flipped. You know what? You're not wrong. Sony's never been for the players. They're for the corporation. They nickel and dime people, and their fan base, which I'm a part of. I don't pull any punches. I give them the business. They nickel and dime you for every freaking thing. It's just egregious. The second $2 super chat says, Forza Horizon 3 with Hot Wheels still my favorite. Yeah, I would agree. I actually like the original Hot Wheels better than even the new version, to be honest. The first Hot Wheels was unbelievably good. Very generous friend of the program, Will Broke Boy Lewis has gifted, ladies and gentlemen, 5 more Double Barrel Gaming memberships. So obviously, if you got one, please, by all means, thank this man, because that's crazy generosity. He's done it quite a few times. So Will, thank you so much for the continued generosity. And he drops not one, drops in another super $5 super chat and says, people claiming that Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox is misinformation are the same that believe it when they were told all Xbox games are coming to PlayStation. I mean, you're not wrong, Will, because again, this is what we were talking about, and Fuzz, I'm going to get to you in a second. There is a double standard when it comes to PlayStation. Like, PlayStation can do something, and it's like, nope, this is what it is. PlayStation said so. Xbox does it. It's like, no, that's not what happened. I don't believe them. They're liars. Okay, sure, whatever. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat. Highlander goes on to say, great news, Boom. Next weekend, I will be at Fort Knox to command the MIA-3, including using the main gun and commanding a new M10 Booker. Got my tank. Wow, dude. Like, listen, I've never driven a tank. I've never even been inside one. I don't know if you're allowed to take pictures, but that's pretty dope if true, brother. Thank you so much for the super chat. So, Fuzzy, let's get into it. Now, the story I sent to everybody, I have it in front of me. Let me just pull it up. 90% of players have walked away from Helldivers 2. The numbers are the lowest it's ever been. And why is that? Well, I mean, people got their fill. It's a great game. Let's not make a mistake here. Like, people walked away because it's not getting content. So, same thing that happened with Halo Infinite. This is one of those situations where Sony had this game made. It's a gas game, and it knocked it out of the park. Not Sony per se, but the developer knocked it out of the park. It was highly reviewed. It's a well-running game. Even when it was having some issues, it still ran well for me. I didn't run into half the issues that some people were reporting. Maybe I just got lucky. And the game has a great multiplayer draw. You can go and you can play with your buddies. I dropped down the planets plenty of times and just went out there and did my own thing, and it was just as much fun. Obviously, I got killed a lot more, but it was still fun nonetheless, right? Yeah. We are in a position, and I say we, meaning Sony, is in a position right now where their whole scheme of what Sony looks like is they're trying to adopt what Xbox is doing so well. Xbox has games as a service that are making money, but more importantly, gaining hundreds of thousands, in the millions of players. Like, all of their big IPs have millions and millions of players. Now, Helldivers did have millions and millions of players, but they don't have that same success anymore. A lot of people have walked away from it because, well, I'm sure that it has a lot to do with the lack of content. Now, the story, which I'm going to pull in a second, was written by Forbes, and they're the ones that did the headline. I literally took their headline and I used it as the title of the show because that's the big story here. Mm-hmm. Is it safe to assume that Helldivers maybe doesn't release in 2024, because I don't think that they were expecting it to hit the way it did. So maybe the Xbox version hasn't even been started. But I think it's safe to assume, without making an ass out of you and me, Fuzzy Belvedere, that this game is definitely coming to Xbox at some point. Because you know what? Xbox gamers are the one that's probably going to support it. I would even dare say more than the PlayStation community, because the support for this in the high 80% at its peak was PC. Now, granted, it did drop off a little bit where you had like maybe a 40-60 split, but that 40%, it didn't really get any higher because, well, they don't really care for, and I say PlayStation players are more, drawn to the single player story-driven movie-like titles, which they don't have right now. Let's talk about it.
Well, I think one of the other factors that contributed to the decline of the player base, other than like normally games have like this peak and then this drop off type of deal, but aside from that, let's not forget the whole PSN required deal that kind of pissed a lot of the PS, or not the PS, but like the PC crowd off to some extent. Some of us might look at it as somewhat silly as far as, oh, it's just, yeah, just, another login. It's not that big of a deal. But in the grand scheme of things, most people prefer Steam over other, launchers and things like that. Not everyone, but a good bit, I would say a majority probably prefer Steam. And then when you have this PSN requirement that Sony was trying to push, which they eventually backed away from, I think that hurt their potential growth or steady sustainability as far as the PC crowd to some extent. They didn't really incentivize them to even create that PSN other than, oh, well, we're making it a requirement. And then they, did a 180 kind of deal. But they could have, incentivized it or enticed them with extra skins or maybe a few easier unlocks or something like that as far as some of your stratagems and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where Arrowhead made a good games as a service for the launch, but as far as their longer roadmap, I don't think they were expecting like you said, the reception that they got, and then trying to catch up or keep up with that. I mean, they had some pretty interesting concepts where they can kind of either manually work in the background or have AI work in the background to kind of help or toughen up some of the drops that you guys do. So in other words, you drop into the map and everybody's getting slaughtered and they're having a hard time. There might be like what I forget what they would call them, but it was almost like an overlord, either an employee at the office or their AI would say, hey, these guys are getting their butt kicked. Let me drop a perfect stratagem to kind of have them rebound back and things. So they've had some interesting things that they were going to mix into this whole games as a service thing that they've implemented into the game. But maintaining the PC player base, that I don't think they were as prepared for that. Like once you reach a certain level, it's like, what else is there to do? Oh, okay, we now have mechs. Okay, what's after mechs and things like that. So from an end game standpoint, I think that's the wall that they've kind of run into to some extent. But like I said, the PSN login didn't help matters. Not having quite the fulfilling roadmap or unlocks for the seasons and things like that people were hoping for may have hurt things as well. But there's also a lot of other cool games that have come out as well. So, if you're going to stay in that top 10 category as far as most played game on Steam and other, platforms and things like that, you got to keep the content flowing. You also have to make sure that you're doing something better or more unique than the next game that comes out a week or a month or several weeks later, to make sure that you don't lose your player base to that game. And then you might rebound after that game, stretches its legs for a bit, and you may get some of your players back. But it all depends on the roadmap that you have for the content. Depends on, like in the case of the PSN, what incentives there are for the PC crowd to actually create their PSN login and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a shame. But a lot of games do get these types of drop-offs, but they have to focus on the rebound. Yep. Destiny is one of those that has been better than most with rebounds, and that was even before they were acquired type of deal. Some DLCs would hit, some would miss. They would have one that misses, and then they would double down, and by the next DLC, by that point, it would land a lot better with their player base. So that's what Helldivers has to look at. But I would say if it was up to Arrowhead, I'm pretty sure they would be working on a Xbox version. But PlayStation being PlayStation and the petty sons of you know what they are type of deal, I would say we probably have a better chance of having Steam on Xbox and accessing it that way than them actually making one. But maybe Hiroki Totoki in his effort of chasing money or chasing the money to keep PlayStation afloat long term, maybe he sees the writing on the wall and says, hey, you know what? We put this Lego game on the Switch. Yeah, why don't we throw a bone and see if we can get an extra million or two players out of it? And I'm pretty sure they would probably get at least a million or two player base added to their fold as far as from Xbox if they offered a version for it. So we'll see. I'm not going to hold my breath for it. I've already played it on PC, but it would make sense in a games as a service playing field to make that version. I mean, look at how MLB did better on Xbox, like the first 2 or 3 years after it released on Xbox compared to the PlayStation player base. Just saying, might be worth their while.
Again, is it not business, Scamsley, after it's all said and done? Like I just find it pretty ridiculous. Like if I pull this out of my rear and you're like, yeah, that boomstick is looking to farm engagement, I guess you can accuse me of that. Well, I have the story right in front of me. Now, this was written by Paul Tassi, senior contributor over at Forbes.com. And the title is exactly what you saw in my title. After initial success, Helldivers 2 has lost 90% of its players with no sign of recovery. That is the article. And if you think that I'm pulling your leg here, well, there are two tales for this story. And you know what, Fuzzy, I do want to bring you back in before I bring Gamsley. I'm sorry, because I forgot to make mention of this.
How dare you?
I know, shame on me as a host. There are two games going in opposite directions. Pal World, which released earlier this year to unbelievable, redonkulous success, has once again made its way into the top 10 with the new the summer update. It's number 9. It had a 135,480 concurrent players. So let's look at, well, Helldivers. Helldivers 2 on Steam right now is listed at number 43 with 44,938 concurrent players. Big difference. And again, content is king. Power World gets an update, boom, top 10. No update, continues to drop. People are writing stories, but yet I'm crazy for talking about it publicly. I don't get the PlayStation community. It's like you can't ever challenge Sony. You folks need to wake up, man. Honestly, go out, touch some grass, pick up a different controller that's not PlayStation, and maybe you'll enjoy gaming instead of all you do is complain. When someone says anything negative, it's the attack dogs are let loose. I mean, before we bring Gamsley back in, what are your thoughts on Power World making a resurgence?
Well, like you said, it's about that content. The more content or the more frequent you offer content, the more likely you're to keep your player base. And their player base dropped off a bit. Like I said, it happens with a lot of games, but it's all about how you have that roadmap to keep them on board or to bring them back when they, step away. Obviously, that content, that recent update was appealing enough to bring players back. I would say, as far as for PlayStation players, probably the bigger thing to look at is if Helldivers 2 is dropping, how far up the list or how far down the list is God of War Ragnarok? Because yes, it has replayability for the light roguelike type mode, but I'm pretty sure not charting anywhere near as high. And then we just had Ghost of Tsushima not too long ago, which also has a multiplayer component, which I complained about a lot of the PlayStation players didn't play. It's like trying to queue for, some of the raids and stuff like that. Not many of the vocal ones out there were playing. So it is what it is. That single player experience, that's great, but single player experiences don't last long on Steam because there isn't much to do once you beat the game. So that's why I would say, look at where God of War is. Look at where Ghost of Tsushima is. And that one had the most, I guess, hype more so than even Ragnarok, just simply because of that style of game does have its appeal and it does have a multiplayer component to it. But, they're going to always cry foul when it's, like you said before, when it's an Xbox thing. Oh, well, their player base dropped off and it's all because of, the Xbox players not playing the game or whatever. But yet when we say the same thing about like Helldivers 2, oh, no, it's not that. It's just the PC crowd shouldn't be, exposed to our exclusives. And it's like, just grow up. Just either play the game or don't play the game. Just that would probably make a better conversation if they actually played the game or whatnot, or continued to play the game. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for adding that additional context. Gramsley, let's talk about it, brother. One is going up the elevator, back to the penthouse, apparently, and the other one is going down to the basement. And somehow or another, the thought And the theory of that releasing on Xbox is so hurtful and so damning to some in the chat that they got their boxers in a bunch, so to speak, over the thought, and again, theory, that I don't know, a multiplayer game available only on PlayStation and only on PC has lost 90% of its player base. How do in the world we get these people back? Oh, I don't know. Maybe release it on a platform that has 40 million players that own those consoles, or is there another way? Could you help me out here, Gamsley?
For this particular game, like Fuzzy has said, it just needs lengthy content people want to play. But too bad that you play 10 hours of this game and you've seen everything, and there's no use in playing this because it's a terrible game and nobody actually likes this game. You're all frauds. You don't like this game. Don't do this to yourself. You don't like this game. This game is useless after 10 hours. Useless. I said it on the top. I said it day one. It makes no sense why you play this game. It doesn't make sense. Drop something we care about. No, in all seriousness, though, they just need to expand on the lore and the universe in its entirety. So all they got to do is drop a lengthy upgrade like Pal World did, because it was pretty lengthy, and Pal World does drop consistently as well. Pal World just hit a larger audience too. Not a larger audience, that's not what I meant, but a larger demographic. Like, people love this genre of like survival game, and there's a beginning, there's an end, and there's a very satisfying loop, right? There's a loop there that's very satisfying and takes longer in general to complete. So they just need a big update that expands on that world and give us a reason to care about what we're actually doing and the end point of the thing, like, just build on that world. Give me a big expansion pack, and I'm sure people are going to jump back in and relove the game, as I should say. I think that's all they have to do. I don't think they have to go to other platforms, to be honest. I don't think so. They have a large fan base on both places that love this game. It's very apparent. And there's always down periods. It's just that the length of the down period, right? The length of no significant upgrade to this live service. It's an obvious live service game. They even titled it at one point. It's just too lengthy and people drop off. Like, there's too much to play. So if Power World gets an update, a big lengthy update first, all those people, those 25-ish million people that jumped in day one and loved that game, will go back and jump in. So that's all Helldivers 2 has to do. Give me a big update, and my friends or my brother will hop back in and bug me to hop back in, or drag me by my legs to come back into that stupid game and play it again. It just needs to update. Now, do I dismiss the fact that putting it on Xbox will drag new players in and give it a big boost, as is right now without a content drop? Yes, obviously, you put it on Xbox, you find new people, you find new players. Yes, it will spike it back up, but the bigger problem is it's just dry. It's just dry out there right now for that game. So give it a big shot in the arm and give it a lengthy update, and people will come back.
Fair opinion. Crispy Bomb, let's bring you in and get your hot take on this. I disagree with Gamsley, but we normally do. But guess what? We're still brothers, so we're allowed to do that.
Hey, hold on. I did say just now, give it to Xbox, you're gonna find a new audience.
Yeah, no, I know you did.
Also, give it a big update, and you'll find the same audience. It's just, it's how these work.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a live service game. You need content to keep it moving, but you also need new players. Yeah. And right now, it's not available on Xbox. And we saw what happened with something like Sea of Thieves that released on the PlayStation, and it was the #1 selling game in May. Now, granted, did it have a drop off? It did. It absolutely did. It's not the #1 selling game in June, But does that make it not a success? No, it doesn't. But with that said, Crispy Bomb, where do you kind of fall? Because there's a lot of pushback from some folks in the chat that do not believe Sony will ever release a game. Like, for instance, Lego Horizon was mentioned. Folks, I'm here to tell you, wait until 2025. You're going to be all of these folks that are kind of putting their fingers in their ears and ducking real tight into the corners of their rooms. Sony is slow at adoption. They do not have the same gusto as what Xbox does. They are eventually are going to put their games on Xbox. And I'm telling you, I can't specifically say which game it is. I really do in my heart of hearts believe that you are two shakes of a stick from Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales dropping as a double pack on Xbox. Now, do I have that on good authority? No, I do not. That's my opinion, and I could be a complete knucklehead, but I believe that's going to happen. Sony is in trouble with finances, folks. And here, this is going to sound insulting, but everyone has said it, so I'm going to join the bandwagon. You PlayStation players are not enough. You don't buy enough games. You go on social media and talk about it, but you don't buy the freaking games. I buy the games for an Xbox. I buy the games. So if you're not buying the games and PC players do buy the games, who else could they get money from? Well, that would be Xbox. And Xbox players do like multiplayer games. And quite frankly, and again, I know that that Gamsley will disagree with me here. I happen to really like Helldivers 2. I thought it was a great game. I would rather play it on Xbox. What are your thoughts, Chris Baum? Because you are our multiplayer guy, especially when it comes to Gears.
Well, I mean, Gears aside, because I mean the hype is real. Let's look at it this way: Sony is publishing this game, correct? I mean,
yes.
Let's be honest, okay? Their marketing has been deplorable at best. All right. They have, like, mechs came into the game and they had nothing to say. And this is where you get a lot of pushback because people are like, why do I need to hear about ESO again? Why do I need to hear about Sea of Thieves again in the showcase? Now, we didn't hear it this time because they were quick to the point, get it done, here you go. Okay? But that's marketing. That, I mean, you could tell me it's not, but it is. Put Doom in there, put Gears in there, and then have these other games that are live service games that, mean something to a subset of people. And Sony continues to ignore it. I mean, if that State of Play had some new Helldivers 2 content, I think people will be more hyped up. And that's where I go and say, like, we used to look at Sony and say, your marketing is genius and everything else. And it's not the same anymore. And you need to accept it and understand it. Maybe it's because, the adoption rate on PC compared to PlayStation is way better. And I don't know, maybe it makes them salty. I don't know. All I know is that I've given Gears 5 hate. Boom has given Halo Infinite hate on the content that they come out with, and they make it better. Okay? It takes time. We understand that. All right? But it's been a lull. And then you see a game like Power World, which is not my jam. But I'm going to tell you right now, for those survival people, for those people that love Pokemon, I mean, you got guns on the Pokemon. Like, it's simplistic, but they also announced that as well. So you think about that. You say, what does Sony think about Helldivers 2? I say, you know what? Release it on Xbox. They'll market it better for you. Sorry, you'll make money off of it, but you got to deal with it. Because right now, live service games, regardless of how you feel about the regurgitation, they market them very well, and they actually show that they love the community because they will put it on the showcase. So I don't understand why people get mad about this. It's just the fact, like, Xbox does better at these live service games. It's just the way it is, okay? They've been doing it forever. We've played Halos with multiplayer forever with a campaign, all right? What do you want from us? We say, hey, yeah, bring it on Xbox. I'll try it out. I don't even care if it's in Game Pass. I'll pay $30 for it. I will. I'll try it out. You know what I mean? Because I have Game Pass for all the games that I know I want. You know what I mean? And then, oh, okay, Helldivers 2 comes over here. You know what? That's an interesting concept. I've seen a lot of people enjoy it. Let me try it out. If it ain't for me, it ain't for me. But you know what? I didn't spend half as much as some of the people have. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you know, I just feel like people are ignoring the fact that, you know, live service games are important. And, you know, we look at the Fortnites, we look at all these things like PUBG. Like, PUBG came out on Xbox first. Like, come on, people. Like, Xbox has been looking at this for years. They know what to do. You might not like it in certain aspects, but I'm going to tell you right now, they know how to market these games. And I don't think PlayStation knows what to do because they're talking like they're pivoting to all single player again. But the problem is you have this lull, and you have a game like Helldivers, which had success, and then you just let it die. That's what I feel like. So why not just release it on Xbox? Why not do it? I mean, I'm sure Arrowhead's all for it. I mean, you already built the game in PC. You can port it to Xbox. Sorry, people. Like, you don't.
x86 architecture is what it's just a matter. It probably. I'm not saying it'd be as simple as cut and paste, but they could bring it over without breaking the bank or putting their devs into a strain.
And I mean, can we all acknowledge that, like, the PC base is far greater, and that includes Power World as well. Like, the PC base is far greater. Like, can you just, like, say, you know what, like, let's just try to make a great game and really make the community the most important thing. And I think that's what Xbox has done over the years. I mean, to continue to see ESO in showcases and stuff like that, it says something. It says, why would they do that? Because the player base is there, and we want, if you're all there just for that, I'm good with it. If you're here for Gears, I'm good with it. Like, they need to do something that is out of the box for Sony. And that's something that I don't know. I don't know if they can do it.
I mean, listen, if they want to make money, then they're going to do it. Obviously, if they continue, like, look, is Fair Games going to come to Xbox? Probably not. I don't think Fair Games is going to even be successful when that releases. That game looks very, very bargain bin, and just going based on what we was shown. They have another games as a service that they're charging $40 for at the end of the year. That's
Concord.
Yeah, Concord is going to flop.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sorry, it's going to flop.
Well,
and when that flops, well, what do they have left in the tank? Because everything else has been canceled. Twisted Metal's been canceled. The military shooter, which was probably a SOCOM, breaks my heart. That was canceled. Factions was canceled. It's just like I guess they don't like money, folks. I don't know what to tell you, but you know that's
it's a perfect example. Sorry, Boom, because it makes there's a lot of people out there that think that Sony, Nintendo, you know, Xbox, they're all untouchable. They have this money or they have their solid fan base. Sony ain't perfect by any means. They didn't believe in this game. They actually didn't believe in this game. This blindsided them. They believed in Concord more than this game, you know? Like, they didn't really care about this game. We all know it. We all see it, how they handle it. This caught them by surprise, and it takes them a lot of time to move the ship.
Yep.
I truly think, though, that it's not the end of this game. If they're probably focusing on it right now, like, that's why they're even trying to lock it down even more. So you can bet that in the coming year or whatever, we're going to see a state of play or a PlayStation showcase showcasing this game and the next big update. And it's going to have a resurgence, whether it comes to Xbox or not. This game is big. It has a big, hungry fan base. We can't deny it. And if that fails, then yeah, start looking elsewhere. But yeah, Sony's not immune to, you know, failures and how do I say, they're not perfect, guys. So
Yeah, well, yeah. Then I mean, the criticism, maybe that would have been a good way to potentially put it up. But look, at the end of the day, I do want to get into the Avowed topic because that one's big. Avowed is you know, obviously we've seen a lot of it. We haven't seen all of it, but we did get a lot of information regarding. And again, I've never played Pillars of Eternity, so of course my concern was, am I going to be lost? Well, that was confirmed as no. You're going to be able to enjoy this game as a new IP. The Living Lands, which has been only mentioned by name in Pillars of Eternity, so the same people that enjoyed those games are going to be finding and seeing the Living Lands for the first time, just like me. So I'm going to have a place. I'm going to be able to enjoy it. The fact that you can rework your character for gold, let's say, for instance, as you're playing, you decide you want to change things, they confirm that you'll be able to change that. We do know that it's going to be your choice, third person or first person, which I think is brilliant. I'm already starting to get those feels of the importance of the characters that you're going to be that are going to be on your team, that you're going to be rolling with. There's going to be a lot of, you know, that Mass Effect feel. Now, the only thing I'm not sure about is each character kind of like the Outer Worlds going to have side missions that you can generate a better relationship with the character because you do these side missions. Potentially, it makes sense that that's something that is going to happen. Fuzzy, let's bring you in on the conversation. But before we actually get there, let me catch up on a couple of super chats that popped in here. We have Highlander 001 clarifies that he meant the M1A3. I hate to autocorrect on myself. Yeah, of course. No sweat, brother. I kind of figured that's what you meant, but thanks for clarifying, and thank you for the additional, very generous $2 super chat. We also have here Quan the Terrible, who's been a channel member for 7 months. Quan, welcome, sir. Thanks so much for being here, and thank you for supporting the channel as much as you do. He says, what's up, Double Barrel fam, and what's up to you as well. Hopefully you are enjoying your Monday. JD Gamer, who has been a channel member for holy matrimony. Like, you almost, like, this doesn't even seem real. It is real. 54 months. And I say this all the time. I think that is as long as the channel's been around. JD, thank you so much for the ridiculous support. He says, Helldivers is Sony's Halo Infinite. Great game at launch that lacks the content to give it the legs it's needed as a gas game. But Halo is back, baby. As a matter of fact, I was playing before and I was wrecking fools. I got recorded footage that I gotta put together. And you know what's crazy? They are on such a cadence right now with Halo Infinite that every time I'm just getting done with a, you know, they don't call it seasons anymore. It's like whatever the particular, you know, mission that you're on, or the, you know, the level 20 that you're on. There's another one coming in July. I'm like, holy crap, this is freaking great. I've completed every one of them. The only thing I have two levels in the Yappening 2, which I'm doing right now. And talk about content. I mean, all of it is absolutely amazing. But thank you. And he also finishes it off with, by the way, pathetic port begging ponies still got no games. Of course, he had to add that. JD, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. We have a Tempest Son. Holy crap. He has beat him by a month. Tempest Son, my brother from Florida. He helped me. He was one of the content creators that helped us launch primetime gaming all of those years ago. And you know something? He makes mention, he's been a channel member for 57 months. Holy crap, dude. Thank you so much. The First Descendant tomorrow. Now, is that an official launch tomorrow, or is that in beta? Because that game, I was reading the story in Game Informer. That game looks kind of dope. I'm not gonna front. Like, I might have to put some stuff down to play the First Descendant. That looks really freaking good. Gamer by Choice, another generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says Sony could be stubborn and prideful and not put games on Xbox. Maybe Sony fears if given options, their fan base is not all that loyal, and PlayStation sales will suffer. I mean, PlayStation sales are suffering right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, their own analyst already said that they've already peaked with PlayStation 5 console sales, that they're on a decline. Again, they remember they had these high aspirations. They had to lower the numbers, and now the next number is even lower. I think it's they're anticipating 18 million. Now, will they hit it? Well, probably, because the system is selling well, but they don't have any first party games. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens or not. But thank you everyone for the super chats, and of course the channel member messages as well. Plus, I want to get right back to you. Avowed is coming this year. Again, Greg Miller, to his credit, boy, oh boy, did he try his damnedest during that interview to try and get them to blurt it out. And they said, well, 2024. Look, the date leaked by accident. It's supposed to be, I think it's November 12th, if I'm not mistaken. Is it November 12th? Who knows? But it is actually releasing this year. There were a lot of really, Andy Cortez asked some really good questions. Greg Miller is Greg Miller, which is why I love Greg. Paris asked some great questions as well. And of course, the game director as well as the gameplay director were there. They answered a lot of questions. They answered a bunch of super chats that came in live on the air. Look, there is a lot to get here. To get to here. I have my own way. I don't want to, make the path for you. What was the biggest takeaway from this sit down interview with Kinda Funny?
I think the big thing is it's not going to be this long drawn out game that will have you doing a lot of like side quest stuff that's more of like time wasters to get through the story. All of the side quests are going to be meaningful and basically, I wouldn't say dictate how your party works, but as far as depending on like which sides you choose and things along those lines, you'll be able to, manipulate not just your companions, but manipulate how the story winds up going for you. The fact that they're doing the selectable between first person and third person is another big thing. I know we've touched on it before, but I just like the fact that we have that option. So that way the hand gestures for the magic, I'll do that in first person. Any of the like sword combat or even pistol combat, do that in third person. But I like the fact that it's not just this not sparse, but like this, vast open world where you might, sidetrack from the story and then get lost in that area and make no real progress kind of thing. But it does have a good bit of exploration. And then based on some of your encounters and things like that, certain things will open up. So having that type of world set up and just making it so it's not like you're like, oh, I have this map full of collectibles I have to get, or side missions that are basically glorified fetch quests and things. No, they're going to be more meaningful story, like leading to story things or character driven things within that story. So it's going to be more of a tighter, concise game. Sure, you'll be able to get probably more than 40 hours out of it, but it's not something where 80 hours in and you're only at like 16% progress, like what I wound up doing. Or it's not quite that bad, but for exaggeration's sake, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is one where it's like, yeah, I got to like about the 80-hour mark, and I think I was only 60% through the game on the main story, and it just seemed like, yeah, this is taking longer than I anticipated. But no, this is going to be I would say not as much fun, but interesting story or RPG that you can go through based on your decisions, which I think the key thing is going to be the stories we'll be able to tell about our playthroughs in comparison to others that we know, and seeing how the results wound up, or what wound up being the ending, or what companions you kept along with you and things along those lines, I think will be the big defining factors in that story. Just having that variety, because you can make your own decisions and choose sides and whatnot. I think that's going to ultimately make it so after you finish one playthrough, you might try a totally different approach on your second playthrough and things like that. So that's the part I'm looking forward to the most.
I mean, first of all, Quan, we're talking about Avowed. That's what we're getting into. Shout out to Thanaros. He said the Outer Worlds with a medieval skin is not a diss. No, I actually think that's quite a compliment, actually, because that's really that's what it is. Avowed is a new IP. The Pillars of Eternity, and again, I don't have an affiliation with that because that is an ARPG. That is not something that I enjoy playing. I mean, there are plenty of really great ones. Baldur's Gate 3 is a perfect example of a great ARPG, but it's not for me, which is perfectly fine because not every game is for every gamer. So again, I'm very happy to know, and again, that's what I took tip of the spear, if you will, for the most exciting part of the interview. There were a lot of nuggets in there for the magic and why wands were added late, right? Like they talked about. I think it was it might have been who was that asked that question? It might have been Andy Cortez that actually asked the question regarding how late in the development of a game of this particular game did you add something, and wands was one of them. Which is great because now you can use wands, you can use it to block, you can use it to spell cast, and that originally wasn't going to be a part of the game, and now it is, which is dope. But for me, I think the question that needed to be asked, and it was, did we as gamers have to have played Pillars of Eternity to appreciate what we're going to see in Avowed? And the answer is, well, no, that we don't have to, and that's for me is a big one. Because again, I don't think I would have played those games, and it would have definitely detracted from me if I would have been forced to do that. So I get to go into this game the same way someone who's a fan of Pillars of Eternity and that universe, and the same way that I'm experiencing the Living Lands for the first time, so are they. And also, Gamsley, one of the things that was interesting was they talked about how as you progress through your story, you're going to unlock more regions, more areas for you to explore. And one of the things they confirmed, and that's why I have to go right back, say thank you, Fuzzy, for saying that, was this game is, according to them, a 30-hour game. I could tell you that right now that I'm going to potentially double, even triple that, because I love going off the path. If I'm on a mission, I always go to the left or right. I always look for that hidden path. That's how I play Fallout. That's how I played Elder Scrolls. That's how I play Starfield. So I'm going to play this game. That's exactly how I played in Outer Worlds as well. Gamzee, the interview happened. And again, they haven't been shy. They've been interviewed by quite a few websites. But Kind of Funny is the one that I watched because Paris Lilly was there. I love Greg Miller. I like what Andy Cortez brings to the table when he's with them. Great interview. Lots of information. What of the interview did you take away?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really. I skimmed through this pretty quickly. I didn't really take notes on this particular interview because I'm just I kind of just guessed most of this stuff because it's Obsidian and Outer Worlds exists. So
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So what I will say is that that's the thing you mentioned that you like to explore. Your eyes are grab you in certain directions
Yes.
all the time, and that's what Outer Wilds and the length of Outer Wilds kind of gives most players as a plus, is that they're very good at giving you just enough that's not overwhelming. Outer Worlds was so good at giving you little space, like good contained spaces that if you do have that brain of like, ooh, shiny, and you go there and you do everything, it's not so overwhelming. Like it's very well paced. And the worlds that they build, or the sections that they build of the map, are very well made and doable, like playable in a reasonable amount of hours. And I love that. I love the industry is trying to go for a little bit of a tighter experience more than a lengthy experience. And Obsidian has always done that. Whether it's their CRPGs or not, they're really good at that. They're really good at pacing. They're really good at stories. They're not so good at combat most of the time, but that's never been a thing. If you're an Obsidian fan, everything that was said at the Kind of funny thing and all the interviews isn't a surprise, and you know what Obsidian is. This is for Obsidian players. And if you're an Obsidian fan, you're probably going to like this game. And if you're not, you're probably not going to like this game. Don't go there expecting Skyrim. Don't go there expecting freaking Witcher 3. Just go there expecting Outer Worlds in a high fantasy era. And you'll be pleasantly surprised with what you're shown and given. I will say that when you said that the companion thing, like, will they have stories for the companions? I know that they did mention in an earlier interview that, you know, there's going to be a camp kind of like Baldur's Gate 3 where you talk to your companions and you go along these quests with them. So I think that was already answered, and the answer is yes. So yeah, there's just freaking I'm hyped. I've been hyped since day one. I've been hyped since the first trailer everybody hated. So let's play this game, man. I'm ready. Let's drop. November was
12th, I think it is.
leaked. Yeah, November 12th was leaked. Well, leaked by them, wasn't it? Like, they dropped it. So yeah, pump that in my veins. I don't know what they're waiting for. Maybe a Gamescom would be like, maybe they're waiting.
It's possible.
To see,
it's the next big one for sure. Yeah.
Maybe they're waiting to see what's dropping around them so they don't cannibalize themselves, or maybe they're kind of hesitant on where the, I don't know, bug fixes are. Maybe they're just not ready yet. I'm not sure why they're not giving us a date, because it looks awesome. It looks fun. So yeah, I'm not sure. Gamescom is going to be fun. I hope we see a lot more on Gamescom.
Oh, I'm hearing some things. Again, nothing to kind of put out there in the socials other than kind of what Absolutely has already said. But there was some stuff that was cut. And remember, we did hear behind the scenes that this was over a 3-hour show that had to be cut down to 2. And a lot of those games is
and that's crazy because, yeah, like Fuzzy Bomb said, you know, Fuzzy Bomb.
Hey, combination.
I love it.
Like Fuzzy Bomb said, both of you, that, you know, that the live service stuff is very important to a lot of people, and them showing all that stuff, and they want to make room, right? They don't want to just drop 7 games in the same month and 7 DLCs in the same month. They need to spread this stuff out. So maybe they're trying not to step on their own toes here with the Avowed release dates. I'm really excited, and I hope we do see all that stuff at Gamescom. All right.
Yeah. Good stuff, brother. As always. Crispy, let's get your hot take, or Fuzzy Bomb, as now you've been named.
I love it.
This is good. This is going to be a big game. It is a one of the big titles. It's original IP. Obsidian, they just don't miss. Honestly, they don't. Like, even if Pentiment wasn't for you and it was not for me, that game won awards for a reason. That was a Josh Schroyer, a passion project. They let him make it. He made it. People played it. I tried it. Again, not for me, but that's okay. Not every game is for every gamer. I'm happy to know that this is going to be its own thing. It's not going to be Skyrim 2.0, which is great. It is going to be a new RPG in the Pillars of the Eternity universe. And it's going to have a lot of weapons. It's going to have a lot of customization. You're going to be able to have missions that take you, that are main lines. You're going to be able to have missions that are going to be able to do with your characters, that your companions. You're going to be able to, fast. If you want to just run through it from A to B to Z, all the way to Z, you can do that. But if you're a gamer like me who enjoys looking around each corner, and then obviously like Gamsley said earlier, oh, look shiny. That's how I go. I see something, I go, and by the time I'm done, I've searched 7 different things, but my mission that I'm supposed to go is all the way over here. That's how I'm enjoying playing. That's how I enjoy playing games. Let's get your hot take on the interview with Kinda Funny and the Avowed folks.
Well, I really think like it comes down to choice. They both said that basically they're willing to see people say, "Oh, I can't believe I made that choice."
Yep.
So, I mean, Outer Worlds, I had the experience myself. Like, I didn't beat it. I'm like 3/4 of the way through. I should beat it. I haven't. Okay. Like I'm one of those gamers that's like, hey, like this is grabbing my self-interest today. So I look at games and I say, you know, how are you going to help me love that game? And I mean, regardless of what people think, having that third person option is a huge deal to me. Okay. Huge. And it might not be that big of a deal for you. And they really like within that interview, like showing the reels and everything, they didn't show you the third person. And that intrigues me even more, to be honest with you. And the loadouts, like we've experienced this. Like I've had loadouts in Division, I've had loadouts in many games. You know what I mean? And you have that option to go and say, okay, like I'm going to start off full on melee. And then they even said, hey, you could go to magic, you could go to, like shooting arrows or whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, you're going to have power-ups that, like your one shot could kill that enemy. And I thought that was really like, hey, like I have that option. Okay. I love options. And I mean, regardless of what people think about Obsidian, they always give you the options. And this is just, them continuing to be them. And I think that is more important to a gamer that has played Obsidian games. Even go back to Fallout New Vegas. Okay. You had options. You could be the bad guy. You could be the good guy. And back then it was like the way they did it was so on point that you'd walk into like a person, a city or whatever that hates you. And you would get little heckling and all these other things. I love that. You know what I mean? Like, I love, like, if you're going to go that route, you go that route, and then you're going to feel like, hey, I'm in enemy territory. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that I feel like they're trying to, like, really, like, pull everything they've had over these years together, and it makes me even more intrigued about, actually playing the game and understanding their route, because I feel like the gameplay wise, really, like, you want to hack and slash, you go for it. You want to use magic and use spells and all this stuff, you go for it. You want to shoot some arrows at some heads and be kind of stealthy a little bit, you go for it. And I think that's Obsidian's pedigree. Like they want you to just go for it, go for what you want to do, and to be able to switch into a different thing because it's not working for you. They said that, hey, go for it. So go for it.
I love the freedom, right? Choice is key. This is going to be a game that isn't going to be Elder Scrolls large, but big enough that's going to give you an adventure that for the average player, and I use the average, 30 hours. If you are someone like me who enjoys looking around each corner, that are looking for the biggest next treasure piece that you can find, the next piece of armor, the next magic wand, you're looking for OP stuff. If you go looking for it, they already said they're going to reward you with it. That's why I'm excited for it. That game comes out later this year, right alongside the plethora of Xbox games that are coming out. That includes Indiana Jones and quite a few other ones. And again, the scale size is all it's all gonna range from AA to AAA bombs. I'm here for it. All I know is that Xbox gamers are going to be eating well, especially if you are someone that subscribes to Xbox Game Pass, because you're getting all these games in there, as well as all the third and second party stuff that is going to be dropping. I cannot wait for it. But that is going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just make sure I'm caught up with all super chats. And again, apologies. For some reason, my internet took a bit of a pause. So I had to get that footage out of there. And obviously, you see these three beautiful gentlemen. We don't know what Crispy looks like. Well, I know what Crispy looks like, but he's eventually going to get on camera as well. Let me just catch up on super chats and we'll be okay. So we're up to date. Let's get everyone out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for spending your Monday afternoon with us. Gamsley, let's sell your brand, brother. Obviously, you do a show each and every week with Deadly Headley and, of course, Asa. And we love the work that you guys are doing over there. When is your next show where they could subscribe to that incredible podcast? More importantly, follow you on social media.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to do this with you, Fuzzy Bomb. I love you guys and your bald
Love
heads.
it.
I hope you both have bald heads.
Likewise.
And Boom, I love you. Thank you for doing this. And Chad, I love you too. Even when you push me back, you push back on me and all that good
That's
stuff.
all right.
You could find me each and every Thursday on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel for the Xbox Series podcasts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about everything everything Xbox and all the good games we're playing, and we just try to have fun and goof around and all that good stuff. So if you like that, go join me there. And if you want to know where I'm hopping on next, which I hop on to a lot of podcasts, find me on Gamsley TKD on X for all that information. And you could also see me here with Boom every Monday at 12 p.m.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show, brother, and enjoy the rest of your Canada Day. Hopefully you get to hang out with your friends later on, and there'll be no cancellations because of sick kids.
Yeah, I just got to get rid of the kids,
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
goodness.
Don't do it. I'm not joking. I love you all.
I know.
Don't
I
take
will
that
stop
serious.
it. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's tell you, brand brother, where can people tune in for the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre on your YouTube channel, where they could find you on other podcasts, and more importantly, find you on social media?
As always, thank you for having me on here, Boom. Always a great time to do this podcast with you, as well as Gamsley and as well as Crispy Bomb. Always appreciate hearing your guys' takes on things. Thanks to the chat. Love that you guys show up and interact with us and check us out and everything. Greatly appreciate your time. Don't forget to hit the like button while you're here. Greatly appreciate the support. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants, anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on other podcasts like later on tonight, FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Breakfast with Boom. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks again.
Appreciate you being here, brother. And last and no way least, he joined us today because we originally didn't think we were going to have Gamsley, but he wound up showing up anyway. So we had a fourth body here today. And, well, not to be outdone, Crispy Bomb, or Fuzzy Bomb, as he's now going to be known. Brother, where can people follow you on social media? But more importantly, what else you got going on, brother?
Yes, I'm still trying to hold on to my hair there, Gamsley. I'm just saying. It's not looking good. I shave it like down to like a 1 and call it a day. But I still have a beard, so the beard is well off. At Crispy Bomb on X, formerly known as Twitter, as my Fuzzy Bomb brother would say. At Crispy Bomb on Xbox Live, and you can find me on Breakfast with Boom Friday at 10 a.m. And you never know where I'll show up. I'm like the Dark Knight, baby. I come in, I swoop in, I say my bars, and y'all have a good day.
Well, thank you, brother. Super appreciate that. Anything you want to add to that, Gamsley? I saw you're ready to push the mic button.
What are you talking about? I got nothing. I'm reserving my.
Okay, reserve yourself for this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, big thank you for all of the super chats that came in today. Of course, the continued support through channel membership is greatly appreciated, and it does allow Mrs. Boom and I to do the big giveaways. And we do have a Christmas in July giveaway happening the second week of the month. It's going to be a Breakfast with Boom. We're giving away 5 Double Barrel Gaming prize packs. Those prize packs are going to contain, and again, I'm trying to get my hands on it. As soon as I get it, they will be added to it. The Gears of War E-Day Special Edition coin and a $25 Xbox gift card, as well as the prize pack that Mrs. Boom herself built from the ground up. So we'll mail that out to you. If you're outside of the United States, we will give it the old college effort. But again, if shipping is $60-$70, it's not going to be worth it. We'll wind up just PayPaling you some money for a gift card that you can go and spend, because we don't want to not include our international gamers. It would be rude. So we're going to try and acknowledge everyone, even if you are outside of the United States. And again, it's just our way of giving back, because we're giving so much, so that it's literally the least we can do. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. To live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.